back to Pain Free Creations, Coaching, and Conversations, where we do all three in a short amount of time. I'm Aubrey Paine. Today, we're going to talk about the lovely iReady diagnostic testing, progress reporting, and data tracking. For those of you who may not know what iReady is, it's a program purchased by the districts to provide quarterly diagnostic testing that then gives teachers and families and even students important information about where the student is academically and where they have their gaps in their learning. So I want to go ahead and I want to start off with the coaching aspect of this conversation. I want to give a few tips about administering the iReady diagnostic test and also progress reporting. So my first tip is kind of an obvious, but sometimes it's not, is prepping your class beforehand. Be clear and direct about your testing expectations. Whether you create a visual anchor chart or a presentation, something to always refer back to when you see students not following your expectations. Be clear in your wording when you're explaining your expectations. There's a huge difference between quiet and the expectation of it being silent. So look at the words that you're using and make sure you're very clear, and then you also stay consistent with your expectations. They get a nonverbal redirect, and then ... What's next? On the iReady website, you can actually download an already created slideshow that you can present to your students that will help them prepare and get ready for their test. And it gives it in kid-friendly terms and helps them kind of understand exactly what they're doing. You can find this presentation and a bunch of other resources on iReadyCentral.com, or just type in Google iReady presentation for students. That's usually how I go to it. So my next tip, you know your students best, and the diagnostic test is long. So if you have a student who is taking longer than an hour, but they're doing their best, go ahead and let them log off. Let them finish it later in the day when they get a little break in, or even the next day. They can start right where they left off. You want them to keep motivated and you want them to keep doing their best, and in which that will provide us the most authentic data that we can get to better help them fill in those gaps that they're missing. And we want to avoid them rushing through at all costs, because once they feel burnt out, I'm sure you've seen it, they start seeing all their classmates finishing and they're still taking their time, they'll eventually start rushing through it just to be done. So now that I've kind of shared some of my tips, I kind of want to do a little chat about what works for you when you give iReady, when you administer it in the classroom. So how do you prep your kids for the diagnostic test? What's worked for you? What do you use? Also, have you seen the iReady's already made data trackers that are also on the website? On iReady Central, another Google you can type in and it'll take you right to it. What are your thoughts on that already made iReady diagnostic testing sheet? And they also have a goal sheet as well. We tried that the first year we started iReady. We stuck to everything that iReady gave us. Me personally, I was never a big fan. I felt like it really didn't invest my students in their learning and their growth. And they just really didn't make the connection between making goals and tracking their data and taking their iReady diagnostic test. But I'm always eager to hear about if people like it, if they don't. If you do use it, how do you make it more, how do you make your students more invested and feel accountable for their learning? If you don't use it, what do you use for iReady to track your students' data? I'm looking forward to reading all of the things that you guys have and ideas and strategies to continue keeping our students accountable. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and share what I ended up creating for my students to help them easily track their iReady data and then use it in their data folder so that later on we can hold data chats before we take the test, after we take the test, and just see where they were before in their scores, and then what their score was after they took the test, and then also then have them create goals for next time and test taking strategies that will help them reach their goals. So once I decided I didn't want to use the official iReady data tracker, I went on a long hunt looking for this wonderful unicorn of a data tracker that would have everything I wanted to make it perfect for what my students need. So I always look for something already made because duh, less work for me, no brainer. So anyways, was never able to find exactly what I was looking for my class and my students. And so then led me on the task to create something that would have everything that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and show you where I started with the data trackers,
Okay,
which
so I
was
wanted to go ahead and started off with showing you what I started off with when I first created the iReady data trackers. So I started with grades K through 3 because that is what I'm most familiar with. Um, and if you notice on the screen, I have diagnostic 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have what would be on level for fall, winter, and spring. I tried to avoid putting anything labeled below or above, green, red, yellow. I feel like right now the focus should be on growth and meeting goals. So I try to avoid any of those colors that sometimes have negative connotations with them. So reading is this, and this is for kindergarten. Then I have math for kindergarten. The numbers change here, and where the score is. The range is different based on the scores that they should have for kindergarten. Then I have first grade, same thing. Math, second grade, same thing. And third grade. So then this has been a pretty hot product on Teachers Pay Teachers. But then I had a coworker who emailed me and asked me, since she is a all-inclusive SPED class, so she has kids ranging in grades K through 5, and they all are at different levels. She wanted me to edit my original tracker so that she could have all of the grades on one sheet so that it would be easy to track their growth without labeling them a specific grade level. So, of course, I am here to help. So I also have this on Teachers Pay Teachers as well if you would prefer to have all grade levels. So I have kindergarten through 5th, and I have their fall, winter, and spring on level. So the only thing that's different on here is the range starts at 200 and ends at 625. This is for reading. And then for math, same thing. But then I just wanted to keep it flexible for those who need maybe different ranges. So I also provided this exact same layout, just the graph starts at 300 and ends at 725 rather than 200 and 625. So that's reading and math. Then I made a different layout just because I love rainbows and colors and everything colorful. I know not everybody's like that, so I tried to make it a little less colorful, but without taking away everything. So same thing, starting at 200, ending at 625, every grade level for on level for each testing period, fall, winter, and spring. And then for math, and then same thing, range change on the graph. And then I did a little extra because I was just thinking about what others might want to make it easy for teachers, parents, students to see their growth and the changes they've made throughout each diagnostic test. So now I put all of the on levels for each grade really small at the top. You can still see it when you print it. I already tested it out. And then I have now where we have our areas of strength and areas for improvement for each breakdown for the diagnostic. And so you can see how it changed from how they're inside their score, what made their score change, what grew, what stayed the same, what got worse for each diagnostic, which I think will be especially helpful when you're having data chats with students, but also when you're having parent-teacher conferences. And I have that also for math. And then the last thing that I have in relation to data talks with students about iReady diagnostic scores is goal setting. This was just something I made because I needed something simple and easy and to help guide my conversations with students about what they're going to do next time. So it has fall, winter, spring, and then you have your overall scaled score. You put your typical growth and your stretch growth. And this is just for the top part because you're not going to, you don't need to put that every single time for winter and spring. So there is, for their goal, they're going to choose how many points their score is going to increase by for winter. And then there's some strategy options for them to check for how they're going to achieve their goal, or they can write their own in. Same thing, it kind of guides them through the thinking process of what they might do next time, and but also allowing them some individuality if they want to add their own. This has been a game changer for me when it comes to data talks and holding the kids accountable for their learning. Then I also have one for reading. So those are my iReady data trackers, goal setting, anything related to taking the test for iReady. I hope you enjoy this resource. Check out my Teachers Pay Teachers page. It's in the description and it's also on the channel page. Check it out. See if there's anything you like. Let me know also in the comments about any questions you have, any suggestions or ideas on what for me to make next. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.